Hi, my name is Bryan Beverly. I'm the lead consultant at Denim Group, and today we're going to talk to Dan Cornell, the Chief Technology Officer at Denim Group, about remediation planning. So let's start at a high level. Dan, what are the main goals of the planning phase?
Well, the planning phase is where you refine the kind of high-level agreements that you made during the inception phase, but you're going to want to make sure that you calculate risk associated with the vulnerabilities that you've identified. You want to make sure to go in and get a real understanding of the level of effort that's going to be required in order to fix these vulnerabilities. And you're going to want to make sure that both the security teams and the development teams agree on how the fixes are going to be performed and how they're going to be confirmed later on.
So shouldn't developers already know how to fix the issues?
Well, in an ideal world, all developers would know how to fix these issues, or they would have been in a position not to introduce them in the first place. But realistically, a lot of developers don't necessarily know a lot about secure coding and about secure design principles. Or developers may be faced with new things in the industry that they're not familiar with, that they don't know about. And so it's important for the security teams to work with the development teams to properly communicate the vulnerability, what the associated risk is, and what the underlying root cause of the problem is. Based on that, then developers should be able to determine, well, this is how we're going to fix these different classes of vulnerabilities. And in working with the security team on how confirmation testing will be done, the hope is that they can come to an understanding of how things will be fixed and how those fixes will be confirmed. During a remediation project, there's nothing worse than having developers try to go out and fix vulnerabilities, to have problems or to be ineffective in those fixes, and then that just sets up for further conflict with the security teams. And so this is something where it's important for the developers to bring to the table their knowledge of development, the security folks to bring to the table their knowledge of risk and the security implications of the vulnerabilities, and to have a shared understanding of how all the vulnerabilities are going to be fixed so there aren't any surprises later on.
So finally, how do you handle the scheduling of the remediation?
Well, there's a couple of things that feed into this. During your planning, you should have calculated the risk associated with the different vulnerabilities, and so you should be able to prioritize that based on business risk. You should also have an understanding of how long it's going to take to fix these different issues on an individual basis. And from that, then you just need to make a plan that works with the resources that you have available based on the level of effort that's going to be required and the risk. It may make sense to go through and fix a lot of vulnerabilities that are very easy or relatively quick to fix. It may make sense to go and fix a bunch of those up front. You find that a lot of times with technical vulnerabilities like cross-site scripting and SQL injection, where the fix methods are fairly application agnostic, and you can just go in and knock out a lot of these issues and reduce some of your risk very quickly up front. Or depending on what your confirmation methods might be, you may want to go in and fix portions of the application at a time so that you can regression test that piece of the application to make sure that any of the changes that you've made haven't introduced any quality problems or additional vulnerabilities. The important thing is to match this to the schedule of the resources that you have. Now, organizations using waterfall methods, often this is something where you can say, well, guess what? We're going to start with these. We're going to fix these. We're going to revalidate the application. We're going to put it back in production. Organizations using a more agile development style might dedicate a certain number of resources per iteration, or they might have an iteration or two during development that's devoted specifically to remediation. Again, depending on the organization, they'll have different ways that their software development process works. The important thing is to make sure that the developers and the development managers understand what they're going to be fixing and when. And by building this plan in conjunction with the security folks, again, all based on the risk that the vulnerabilities expose them to.
All right, Dan, thank you very much. What's the best way that people can contact you and follow you on the internet?
They can email me, dan@denimgroup.com, or you can follow me on Twitter @DanielCornell.